Are you ready? I can't hear you. Are you ready? I can't hear you. Are you ready? Okay. Right. Phew. Now that's been half of the poem, or less than half. We'll get there eventually. So we have now we have y yo también, me too. So that's the only time when the I appears. Why here? Why in this part of the poem?
Well, as you said, the nightingale usually means that the author talks about himself. Well, sometimes, let's say that. So, and if nightingale cries of his wounds, it means, well, if you think about it logically, that he's singing very, very sad song because he's hurt inside. And that confirms that he also feels that, and the world around him, he sees the world around him in the same way, in dark tones, in quite pessimistic filter. So everything around him is very sad and melancholic and is full of hurt, and so is he.
So it's like, if that's the only time when I appears, then obviously it's a very important point of the poem, and it talks about the poet, the nightingale, being unable to sing, only to cry because he's too hurt. So and let's just notice that when this I appears, he doesn't do anything. There's no action, there's nothing, only says too, también, me too, me as well. So he kind of blends in. He doesn't stand apart, he doesn't even do anything separate. So, which is unusual, because what usually happens is when you introduce a hero, and I is a hero, obviously, then the idea of a hero is to do something, to change something, to, even if just observing, to tell his opinion, for instance. That's also an action. But that's not what he does. He just says, oh, me too. I'm not the originator. I join it. I'm here as an observer. But I know I'm not just an observer. I never am. Nobody ever is. Because if you observe something, then you participate in it, and then you're a part of it. It happens to you, and you're doing it as well as who appears to be doing it. Y yo también. Me too.
Outside, because we can't see observers, the outsiders who have no vested interest in what they are observing. They observe, they often criticize, in theory they should be impractical. In reality, in practice, they very often have their own ideas, and they might impose their ideas on people or the processes they supervise. That's not the case here. I'm just part of it. I am important, maybe because you already come from me, but I'm part of the larger picture, and I'm nothing outside the brain.
And I like that it's positive. that we have two different words for as well in Spanish. So we have también, me too, in positive way, and tampoco, me too, in a negative way. I don't do it, yo tampoco. So he joins it in a kind of a positive way. Okay, and why is he crying? Porque cayó una hoja y dos y tres.
The cycle goes on again. It repeats.
And maybe it's like in music, when we need to repeat from that place. It's like see above and remember what we told. And I'm not feeling hurt, crying, yelling with pain because a leaf is falling, but because it reminds me of these things we've been talking about before. Then we have something really weird, really dreamy, fantastic, surrealistic. Una cabeza de cristal y un violín de papel. Y la nieve podría con el mundo si la nieve durmiera un mes. Y las ramas luchaban con el mundo, una a una, dos a dos, y tres a tres. So a head of crystal or glass and a paper fiddle. What is it?
Is it fiddle or a violin?
Violin.
Violin. Paper violin.
I guess it's just a normal violin. Or fiddle. Maybe it's well, it's the same word for violin and for fiddle.
Okay.
But a fiddle has other words to it, and violin is just violin.
Okay.
So we had maybe is it his head of crystal? He says a head of crystal and a paper violin, a paper fiddle. It's like again he's not fixing himself, because who else can it be? There's no one else in the forest, just himself. So it's his head of crystal or glass, but apparently. But it's like I'm nothing specific. I'm not a there. I'm an a an.
So violin is thought to be one of the most beautiful musical instruments, which can really express your sadness, your pain, your feelings. And if you have a violin made out of paper, it means that you cannot play. You cannot express your feelings, and you cannot, you cannot transform them into something beautiful, such as music. And his poet that he was talking about, Nightingale and his son, and I think it's all connected overall.
Okay, but if you're a poet, then you can have a paper fiddle, because paper is where you play your music. You use paper to play your music on it. So I already see a few versions of how to read these lines. So one version could be, well, just abstract, just for the atmosphere, just for the air. But we are not interested in it because it's easy to say, oh well, it's just for the air. Another way of saying is that it's about himself, that it's his head of crystal, his paper violin. And like you say, it could be that the paper violin means that you can't play it. It's a toy violin. It's a pretend violin, it's not real. Or you can say, well, he's a poet, his paper violin can be as good as your violin. Another way of saying it, of seeing it, is like, well, first of all, what is cabeza de cristal? What is a head of glass or crystal? Why?
It's usually edgy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can like hurt yourself.
Well, not necessarily. So what is the first idea which comes to your mind when we talk about crystals?
They're very beautiful.
Beautiful.
And shiny.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, shiny.
Clear.
Clear. Yeah, I think clear is one of the first one. Hard and clear. So maybe it's his head, like transparent, and he doesn't have his own ideas. What he can see around is reflected in his head, if it's crystal. His what?
He blends in.
I can't hear you.
Well, okay. Next question.
No, you said he blends in, right?
Yeah, blends
Yes,
in.
I said.
Okay. At the same time, it means maybe that his head is clear, so his own ideas do not shadow, do not screen what is happening around him. So that's why we have, if you have a crystal head, then you can have your paper violin, paper fiddle to play on it, because then your head is like a projector, or you're a screen on which the world projects itself, and you in your turn project it on paper, and you can have your piece of paper as your musical instrument for a poem. So could be that, or could be something else. Could be again describing the landscape, describing what we see around. So the Uncabeza de crystal is the moon again. So it's like the moon is like head flowing in the sky, and it's made of crystal, because it's like you say, shiny, and it looks like a big crystal in the sky, and it looks like a head because it's round. So we have full moon, big, nice moon. And the paper fiddle could be the leaves, the rustling leaves. So they play music which is like paper rustling. So we have dry winds in the wind, leaves in the wind, like the violin. Could be. But again, like we said, if you talk about crystals and violins in the night, again, it makes it more romantic. Okay. Y la nieve. The snow. How do we have the snow in here? It's been autumn just 5 seconds ago, now it's winter. La nieve podría con el mundo. Si la nieve durmiera un mes. The snow could do the world if the snow could sleep for a month. So we had the idea of dreaming and sleeping in the beginning. We had the same word, but in a different tense. El agua duerme una hora, el mar blanco duerme 100. Now we again have the idea of sleeping, only if in the first instance it was like present simple, just something they do. Water sleeps for an hour and the blank white sea sleeps for 100. But now we have if podría, could, durmiera, if it slept, if it will sleep. So it's something, again, from the future now. Now we talk about future. How do we have snow here? Why sleeping? Why month? So first we had water sleeping for an hour. Then we had the sea sleeping for 100 hours. Now we have snow sleeping, wanting to sleep for a month. So time slows down, grows longer. So the snow could connect with the world. What's the snow? How could it connect with the world? Why would it need to sleep? Again, suppose it's all about yourself or the poet.
Well, I'm not sure about snow. If it is something that connects us to this world, or the snow might be seen as a color.
Mm-hmm.
Might color a grave, somebody's grave. It might color that lady's grave, for example. And you might be sleeping. You might be a sleeping beauty, and then someone's going to wake you up with a new heart. Otherwise, you are might as well as well.
I think that in nature, when snow covers the ground, it means that it protects the earth during winter time. And while snow lays on the ground, something grows underneath, preparing for the spring. Oh, the earth still lives. So if the snow would cover this poet for some time, so it would let him recover. It would let him just lay down and just have some rest. He would go back into the vault, refreshed, ready to write new poems, new songs, whatever.
Well, yeah. So I guess again it's just an improvisation. I might be wrong. Again, he's talking about himself. He's so hurt. He can't sing. He can only cry, and he can't possibly go out into the world, because all inside him is snow, all inside him is frozen, and that's how he feels. And when he says La Nieve, maybe again he means just himself, that he could come back into the world if he slept for a month. Again, like he's so hurt, he needs to go away for a while, to be away from the world. Again, El Mundo, it's like the world, like society, like not spiritual, like we know Gloria Mundi, the same word. So if you're a poet, maybe you can go back to the mundane, yeah, the same word in English, we have it. You can go back to the mundane, but at the moment it's so alien, so far away, that you do need to kind of restart yourself, to spend a while away. So again, we have those images of something cold, like crystal, and now snow, and sleeping. And we still see the dead lady in the branches, because that's a very striking image. If you put a dead lady in the branches without explaining anything, and she comes out of nowhere, then surely it captures the reader's imagination. We just have so many questions and they're never answered. Who is this lady? Why is she there? Why is she dead? It's so weird, so strange, and the logical mind wants answers. But in the poetic realm, when everything is like the fish swimming in the stream, you don't always get logical answers. Sometimes you just get messages, images, feelings, and that's enough. So if you don't have logic, you have feeling in that reality.
And many of our questions.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Y la nieve podría con el mundo, si la nieve durmiera un mes, y las ramas lo luchaban con el mundo, una a una, dos a dos, y tres a tres. So we have the world again. So we have snow. I guess snow is soft and it can't fight. It can only sleep and wait. It's like passive. It could be heavy, but it's heavy in a passive way. And now we have the branches again, the RAMAS, the frames, which are fighting with the world. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. So again, we have the opposition. We have something that is passive, sleeping, something that is active, fighting. And you can imagine the branches moving in the wind, like fighting. Could be. So again, we have these two different aspects, sides, personalities in the poet. On one hand, all you want to do is curl and sleep and hope it will be okay. On the other hand, there's always the side which wants to fight for its whatever values. Like these days, some people say, oh no, just sit at home and do nothing and hope they will finish this viral thing soon. And other people say, no, you're stupid. If you sit down and do nothing, it will get worse and worse and worse. They'll say, then another week, and then another week, and then half a year, and then you can't do nothing about it. So there are always those two opposite sides, passive and active, sleeping and fighting. And they're both directed towards the world. The world does nothing in here. It doesn't even know about these guys because it's another reality. But they're concerned about the world. So la nieve podría con el mundo y las ramas luchaban con el mundo. And the passive is all in possibility. Podría, could, durmiera if they will sleep. While luchaban is just past. It's something that already happened. It belongs to the active reality. Okay?
Okay.
Then we count 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and 3 to 3, as opposed to 1, 2, 3. Now it's getting a double. Why is it double?
Technically, we started with these numbers, then the numbers were repeated, and now we make sure that the reader feels this repetition, that the reader is aware of it. But that's only the text. I'm not sure I get the idea.
Well, we never know we get the idea. Again, the idea is the fish. How can you get it? It's fishy. Alexandra, any ideas?
When somebody says 1 by 1, 2 by 2, etc., I feel like they're saying step by step. It gives the feeling of very precise, very consequent actions and repetitiveness. So, in context of this poem, for me, it seems like he's continuing to count branches, like 1 branch, 2 branch, 3 branch, and he's just counting the 3.
Okay.
And I just don't feel like it's an analytic process in any kind. He's just counting, that's all. So
yeah, why is he counting in double? Why couldn't he continue his 1, 2, 3? Why is it 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3? Why do we need it here? So maybe it's kind of a progress, because it's growing, the world is getting bigger, maybe. Or maybe it's not getting bigger, it's getting separated. So where we had one reality, where you could have the fish swimming across the moon, and it was in this world and then the other world. Now these two worlds get separated. Now the world where is snow, which is passive, is separate from the world where he is branches and like aggressive, active, doing. Yeah, so it's really two sides of our being. The part which wants to do, and the parts that, well, there's no word for it really, easing, like is to be, easing, being. So it's not doing anything, but it's expressing itself fully. And from a side it may look like it's sleeping, for instance, or that it's being passive. But it's not being passive, it's not being active within the regular frame of reality. So all our words are referring to that frame which is full of doing and acting. So we can't really refer to the other modality. It has to do with the left brain and the right brain, apparently. But that's another talk. So apparently these two realities are now disconnected, separated. So you need to count separately for one and for the other. So because if you say una a una, you repeat the same word twice. So it gives you a kind of an impression of seeing it in double, a bit of déjà vu, maybe. Comments? No? Okay. Oh, duro Marvel de carnes invisibles. Oh, golfos sin hormigas del amanecer. Now that's something too poetic. So we have duro Marvel de carnes invisibles. The hard ivory of invisible meat flesh. Is anyone lost here? I am.
Carnus meat, doesn't it?
Carne is like meat or flesh, like carnival.
Yeah.
So what is the invisible flesh? Something impossible, something contradictory, because we have the world of the invisible, of the spirit, who have no flesh, and have the world of flesh, visible, palpable, and now he connects the two back again. So he says we have flesh, but it's invisible, but it's flesh, but it's not here, but it's here. And the hard ivory. What is the hard ivory which we come back in the end? What's the hard ivory? Okay.
The Russian language.
The Russian translation uses the word which sounds like marvel, marvel, but either way, you could use it. You could use it because marble and marvel, ivory, it's all about the same, because it's hard, it's cold, it's white usually. If you talk about marble, it could be different, but usually you imagine white. So it's kind of you can change one for another in the poem. The only difference is that ivory comes from like living, and marble is like a stone. But it doesn't matter much as the image, as the feeling. It's the same. It's ivory. So it's something hard, something white. Because when you say ivory, usually you mean something white, don't you? So hard white of invisible flesh. Ivory. So how can you know it's ivory if it's invisible? You know
because ivory is bone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have flesh, you should have bone somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's like a skeleton? So the flesh is invisible, you can only see the bones?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think something like this.
On the other hand, ivory is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
When someone says ivory, immediately there's an image of something really electricity in our heads. And, well, here, it's just idea of the laws. All the hard ivory of invisible flesh.
So I guess maybe he refers again to something in the landscape, but maybe he just made it too elaborated, too complicated for us to understand it. So because it is a bit like, huh? What? Maybe it's his feeling, maybe we just read it as a feeling. So again we have something hard, duro, hard. Invisible flesh. Weird. Oh, golfos sin hormigas del amanecer. Something again weird. Antlers abyss of the dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can kind of see it really, because if it's dawn, the sunrise. So we went through the night. We had the moon, now we had the sunrise, the dawn, and you have the abyss. It's the moment just before the sun is visible. The sky becomes a great, great abyss because you don't have the sun yet and you don't have the stars. So maybe ants are like stars. So before the sunrise, you can't see the many ants of the stars, and you don't see the sun yet. So what you have is the antlers abyss of the dawn. It's completely empty. There's nothing, just a great, great big sky, great abyss, the space, the cosmos. Maybe. Then maybe the hard ivory of invisible flesh, maybe it's like stars as well, white, and it's flesh but it's invisible, maybe. Why is it hard? I'm not sure.
And again, speaking of images, this abyss thing brings back some of the images they use in the Bible of a huge space, something that is translated into Russian, into traditional Russian, and something that is completely different from our understanding of space today. It's not space in a very practical sense. It's something much more magnificent, something, again, you can't really see. It escapes you like the sedge, or it is invisible, like this invisible ivory flesh.
So when you talk about ants which are absent from the abyss, what happens?
No ants. No ants. Again, it's only my association. I don't know much about biology, so my association is like ants are hard-working animals.
There's something else to them. When you look at them just visually, what do you see when somebody says ants?
Little dots.
So they're small. Yes.
Not more with some.
Okay, I have something for you. It's not the same guy. Do you know who made this picture? Made the painting? There are two versions. He made two versions. That's version number 1. And that's version number 2 by the same person. Can you guess the author? He's famous.
Let me think.
Is it something about the moon?
No, it's something about creation of the world. So the Antlers abyss could look just like this.
Okay. Oh, yes. Quite impressive.
Do you know who made it?
A Russian artist?
Well, you can say a Russian, well, technically Armenian. But people think of him as a Russian.
Is it Amazovsky?
Yes, you get the prize. What's the prize? Okay, kiss, kiss. That's a prize.
Thanks.
The question, could you say it again?
Amazovsky.
It's Alazovsky, so I was thinking. So, okay, because I never thought of Alazovsky. I know that the surname is Armenian, but I always think of him as a Russian artist.
Well, you can say he's a Russian artist because it's like one big Russian empire. Well, anyway, let's come back here. The Antlers abyss of the dawn. So when you say Antlers abyss, you make the abyss bigger, because when you say antless, you still imagine ants in it. Yeah, the gulf without ants. Antlers abyss sounds nice in English. So you still imagine ants, and they're really tiny somewhere there. So the abyss becomes bigger in comparison with the ants, which are not even there. That's a strike of a genius, really. And then again, you can say, oh, well, the mankind is like little ants in face of infinity. Who are we? What are we? That's one of the ways of being miserable, what he does. Thinking about how life passes as quick as a leaf falling or a fish swimming, compared to the cosmic bodies and mythological entities. And now we have it again. We have ants, the common image of ants. So when you use it, it's like mankind, people are like ants. Yeah. And the abyss is antless. So it's so big, so great, so monumental, it doesn't even notice people, doesn't even notice the whole mankind, which is like his private way of being miserable, like we said. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that he is miserable, because it means the abyss is really, really great and amazing, and he's there to witness it, which is also fantastic. He can see, he goes through the night, all these weird visions, and finally he arrives to the moment, well, kind of before light. We see light because we have the word dawn, just in the end, Amanether. But it's the moment, just the first little bit of light. He arrives at it, and he has his great moment when he can actually see this antlers abyss of the dawn, which surpasses all that you may ever imagine in your tiny human head. Con el mu de las ramas, con el ay de las damas, con el cra de las ramas y el glue amarillo de la miel. So that's, I take it, how he describes the dawn, the sunrise, with the swish of the trees, the sighs of the ladies, with the croaking of frogs and the honey's yellow glug. So while in the original it's all just like sounds, the sounds that they make. So how do you usually describe sunrise?
Well, usually sunrise associates with new hope, new day, and it's very light, and it brings how can I say, it brings peace. So you stop your worries, you stop feeling miserable, you just kind of enjoy the moment.
Okay, so what words do you usually use to describe a sunrise? What kind of imagery do you usually use for it? Somebody tells you, could you write a poem about sunrise? Could you describe a sunrise for me? What are you gonna do? What's your idea?
Light, yellow, golden.
Yeah, so usually people think about color, because you have this special color of light during sunrise: red, purple, green, all sorts of pinkish in the sky. It's not really yellow yet. But what he does, he uses sounds instead. So it's like it's still dark. He's still in the night forest. The sun is coming up, but he can't see it yet. He can only hear it. And we have the Ramas coming back for the third time. So first we have the dead lady in the Ramas. Then we have something else. Or is it the second time? La Ramas luchaban con el mundo. So the first time we have the Ramas, the frames, the branches with the dead lady. Then we have the same branches fighting aggressively with the world. And now they're part of the new world, the sunrise, and they say, moo. Is that the normal sound for branches?
Isn't it the sound of wind?
Yeah, it's more like wind. So they're again moving. They're not static, they're moving in the wind. And then, ay, de las damas. Now we have lots of ladies, not just one lady on one branch, but lots of ladies in many branches. And they're sighing.
Why?
Why? Because he's sad, so everybody has to sigh. So suddenly his forest is full of ladies. And again, since we have them in plural, they're not specific. It's just a mass of ladies and they're all sighing. But maybe that's like the Ramas are quite hard, they're fighting, and the ladies are more gentle and they're sighing. When do you sigh? When you don't want to fight, when you give up, then you're sighing. So it's again something opposite. And then funny, the Ramas become the Ranas. Ramas to Ranas. The branches becomes frogs. So we had the fish, now we have the frog, which is a bit of a progress.
And it's back directly after de las damas.
So the ladies become the frogs as well.
Making some typical froggish sounds.
So we have this transformation. Again and again we have everything turning into something else, everything flowing like a swimming, like a fish, changing. Ramas, damas, ramas. Maybe it's like his head is going around a bit. We have all those sounds. We can hear it. We can perceive it well because we know the sounds, and they really add depth to the picture. Because when you say it, you can also feel the smell in it, and not just the sound. So the frogs mean that water. And then glue amarillo de la mil, or something yellow of honey. So that could be the color of the sunrise. But if you compare it with honey, it's again a specific kind of color, like soft and gluey, gooey, funny kind of yellow. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have amarillo and amanecer, maybe connected, the sunrise and yellow. Maybe it's also connected, not necessarily. And then just when we think that, okay, we're through it, finish, fantastic, sunlight, new day, we have llegará un torso de sombra coronado de laurel. So, and will arrive the torso. What was the Russian translation?
The torso? The Russian. I just closed the Russian translation.
Hooray! Oh, I have it somewhere.
So it's like just a shadow. There's no torso here. It's just sumrak, somebody masculine that is approaching, wearing laurel.
Well, yeah, so it could be something like, what is it? Dusk. So shadowy time. So immediately after sunrise, you still have the shadows. Again, it's not complete, it's only the torso. Weird. Where's the rest of it?
Again, if you think of Rama here, you might think of a statue covered by...
Yeah. Statue
of somebody who's also a hero who's crowned with laurel.
Will come the torso of a shadow. Will come and crowned of laurel. So crowned of laurel with a laurel crown again means it's victorious. A shadow usually connected with like death. So even though he has his sunrise, still the shadow part is undefeated. Maybe it's not death, maybe it's like your shadow part. And maybe it's something from the night world, which is still present in the day world. Or who has the laurel wreath? Maybe it's like the poet. Maybe. So maybe it's some weird figure like Hamlet's father's ghost. So anyway, it's important, it's big, it has a crown, and it's sombra. So sombra is like a shadow, but at the same time it's related to dreaming, heavy dreams as well. Somber, yeah. So it's a world where you can never have one side, you always have a mixture, apparently. Será el cielo para el viento duro como una pared, y las ramas desgajadas se irán bailando con él. Will be the sky for the wind as hard as a wall, and the branches separated or broken will go or will be dancing with it. So that's a visual that you can imagine how if you're looking from the ground, then you can imagine that the sky is a wall and the branches are not branches but like shadows dancing on the wall. But again, here the sky becomes hard like a wall. We have the separation here. So we had the moon in the stream. So everything was mixed nicely. It was homogeneous, is that the word? And now there's a barrier, there's separation, a hard wall between the two realities. Duro marfil, and now the sky is duro como una pared. So he likes that word. So again, we had the wind. We didn't have it, but we could feel it in the movement of the branches. Now it comes here. Yeah, and again we have the wall. The first thing which is not from the forest. As we have the separation of the realities, we have things from el mundo, from the world, coming into what used to be just the forest. Because the daylight comes and the daylight brings the world with it, the el mundo world. Y las ramas desgajadas se irán bailando con él. The again separated, broken branches. So the first branches were like rebels fighting with the world, but now they're broken. They give up. They can do nothing. They're dancing. So we have singing, we have dancing, and again it's a bit ambiguous. It gives you mixed feelings.
Well, isn't it a sort of resignation? You're saying, well, nothing is to be done. I give up, and I just enjoy the moment.
Maybe.
Dancing.
Or maybe they're dancing because. Maybe they're dancing because the wind makes them dancing. Not because they want to dance, because the wind makes them dance, but still they're dancing. The word dancing makes us happy, but the word desgajadas, again, it's not a typical word. I think it's not a typical word to say about branches. Desgajadas. So you can see, even if you don't know the meaning, you see the des, like something negative, something separated. So they're disconnected from what? From the other reality, from the sky, because the sky is now the wall, and there's no way through. So all they can do is dance or with it, with what? With the wind, with the wind or with the sky, with the wind probably. Una a una, alrededor de la luna, dos a dos, alrededor del sol. Y 3 a 3, para que los marfiles se duerman bien. So again, we have the two realities disconnected. So una, so A is like that wall between the two realities, which is now hard. And again, we have these two realities really disconnected. We have different, around the moon, that's one reality. Around the sun, that's another reality. Then again, we had the word alrededor, around, when we were talking about the nightingale crying around. So this English version is a bit silly. It has throughout the countryside, but I guess he meant much more than that. I guess he meant around the universes, this world, the other world. His cry goes around all worlds. But now it can't, because now the worlds are separated, disconnected. So you go separately around the moon and separately around the sun, the two realities. And of course, where you have two, you always inevitably have the third. So we have one, we have the opposite, and we have something maybe completely different or unexpected. The third party, somehow it's essential. So you can't have just plus and minus. You can't have just the moon and the sun. There's always something number 3, even if you can't name it. Maybe it's number 3 is something that you can't name. So 2 is opposites, but they're obvious opposites. It's like easy. It's our mind likes it. You say black, I say white, and that's really, really hard rails of our brain, which it can't leave it. If you say the moon, I have to say the sun, and it's really like rails. You ever wondered why we have 2 rails on the railroad, 1 and 2, but then we have a thirdly, we have the stuff between them, yeah? So there's always something third, and here the third is again something strange and unexpected, something you can't really explain, something you can't really pronounce, say, name, but you need to say something here. He says, para que los marfiles se duerman bien. Those mysterious ivories, in plural, in this case. What is it? Like teeth in the sky, which are stars? Do you think that stars are like ivory teeth in the sky? Maybe.
Maybe. I'm looking at the Russian translation, and interestingly enough, they don't have any sunshine in the Russian translation. What it says is: «И гонимые ветки запляшут на нем по одной над рыбой, вдвоем над ручьем, и втроем, и по-прежнему врозь, чтобы мрамору крепче спалось». So part of it is can basically be traced to the Spanish text, but part of it, which does not include any sunshine, is something that the Russian poet uses to retain the rhythm. So there's no sunshine here, and they are still separated. They are very words. I don't know whether it changes the meaning grammatically, but it seems to me that it does not preserve something really important in this Spanish.
No. Well, again, I guess he did a good job, a really good job, but you can never translate anything, you can only rewrite it. Then obviously you have your own version of how to say it. So That's why we are reading the original.
Ideas with your own.
And again, so in the end, we come back to the idea of sleep. We start with sleeping. El agua duerme una hora y el mar blanco duerme 100. And then muerta. Then again, la nieve dormiera un mes. Si la nieve dormiera un mes. And now, we repeat the idea of sleep, of dreaming, of death. But here we finish on a positive note, because the last word is bien, good. So not just sleep out, but sleep well. So that the ivories sleep well. So the movement of the branches is like, again, like a hypnotizing, or like a lullaby, or soothing the hard marfilles, putting them to sleep. So maybe branches, again, like we see, branches are aggressive, that's doing, and then the sky is just accepting it, taking that in, this movement, like a wall or like the screen. So what we are doing here, no matter what we do, acting, doing, it's just like a lullaby, hypnosis for the for heavens, maybe. So if we're doing our job well here, then the guys up there have good dreams, and then we have a good life too, because they're dreaming about us. But I'm, of course, reading into it a bit. But here we have the connection between these active branches, frames, ramas, and the strange ivories, which are apparently connected with the sunrise, with the sky, maybe stars. Phew. Okay, anything else?
A huge footnote.
A bit, yeah. But good, it's good.
Yes.
So maybe we just read it again, just so after discussing it, so now we can feel it a bit better. Cayó una hoja, y dos, y tres. Por la luna nadaba un pez. El agua duerme una hora y el mar blanco duerme 100. La dama estaba muerta en la rama. La monja cantaba dentro de la toronja. La niña iba por el pino a la piña, y el pino buscaba la plumilla del trino. Pero el ruiseñor lloraba sus heridas alrededor. Y yo también, porque cayó una hoja, y dos, y tres, y una cabeza de cristal, y un violín de papel. Y la nieve podría con el mundo si la nieve durmiera un mes. Y las ramas luchaban con el mundo, una a una, dos a dos, y tres a tres. Oh duro marfil de carnes invisibles, o golfos sin hormigas del amanecer, con el de las ramas, con el ay de las damas, con el cru de las ranas y el glú amarillo de la mil. Llegará un torso de sombra coronado de laurel. Será el cielo para el viento duro como una pared, y las ramas desgajadas se irán bailando con él, una a una, alrededor de la luna, dos a dos, alrededor del sol, y tres a tres, para que los marfiles se duerman bien. Ah, very good, very good. then again, it rhymes. It rhymes very nicely, but the last line just doesn't rhyme with anything, because that's where we finish. And the next line, which would be rhyming with it, is silent, which I think is really powerful, because the last line brings us into silence, which is infinite. So maybe it's time to follow its example.